Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 2 of DDP, the Dental Disruptors Podcast.
We've already got an acronym.
That's right, DDP, we're official. Yeah, I'm Jake Larsen, CRO, co-founder of Kala. This is my co-founder and co-host, Clint Berry, former CTO, and you're never a former co-founder, you're just always a co-founder.
I guess that's true.
Right? So you're a co-founder of Weave and former CTO there. And just amazing guy. So this is Clint. And today we're going to have a little fun with our first topic. And Clint and I had a little back and forth on what our first topic should be. But I really love this idea that Clint brought to the table. So I'm excited to share. So part of our time at Kala, this other company that we're building, we've been doing a lot of market research and talking to a lot of industry leaders, been going to some trade shows. And one of the things that we've noticed is that there's a lot of discussion around different KPIs and metrics that should be being tracked. And there's a lot of uniformity in what people generally track. Would you agree with that? That's a pretty fair statement.
I think there's like a bunch of standard things that they need to watch. Yeah.
But we're hearing like new metrics that historically would be impossible, I guess, besides like a pen and paper maybe, but like historically would be very challenging to try to track. And but as new technology comes in and the disruption allows these things to be measured and become more trackable, the impact that it can have on individual practices and group practices and just the industry as a whole can be massive. Like super impactful. So with that, Clint, give me an example in all of this market research that we've been doing for Kala. Like what are some examples of different operational data components or KPIs that you've seen that it's like, okay, these things are reality that they can actually be tracked now?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think we mentioned this in the first episode, but for such a long time, you could build a dental practice without really tracking anything. And so sometimes like it almost seems silly, like you and I coming from a software background, some of these metrics are like no-brainers, but and now maybe a little bit newer, maybe not newer, but just like harder to track in dentistry.
Okay.
And so let me give you 2 examples. Well, let me give you an example of one metric, but 2 examples of where I ran into it. Okay. So I subscribe to the DEO, which is the Dental Entrepreneurship Organization, I think and they help group practices get better, especially emerging ones. Like if
you went to that show in Florida, I think, right?
Yeah, I went to that show in Florida last year, and it was great, and it was fun. But I get their emails, and so one of them came through that I thought was really interesting. He's like, they released what they call their practice scorecard. So it was all the KPIs they thought were most important. I was like, oh, that's really cool. That first of all, that they do it for free.
Like how many metrics are we talking about on a scorecard? Was it like
there's probably 30 metrics in there.
They narrowed it down.
Yeah, nice. It wasn't like 180.
Like which is the most important of the 180 metrics?
Yeah, sometimes that gets a little ridiculous. But no, and I honestly thought it was pretty valuable. I was like, oh, this is actually a cool thing that they're releasing this for free, and we're not a member or anything, and they don't sponsor this. I'm just pointing out that it's cool. And so I went through it and I was like, okay. And you know me, I'm big on operations, and I'm like, okay.
Clint is a data nerd.
I love the operational metrics, which is maybe, I don't think it tells too much about me. But one of them that they put at the top was tracking the close rate of new patient calls. And so a huge chunk of new dental patients just go onto Google Maps and they call.
Time out real quick. As a sales leader, like this is metric number 1. What's your close rate? Like the most basic.
Yeah, like at Weave or any other company we've ever been at, like that is.
And the technology exists, right? It's like not hard to track that. But in a dental office, the phone rings. You don't even know if it is a new patient, right, to begin with. And then like, how do you, I don't even know how I would track that, man.
That's what I put a little bit of thought into this last few days, because I'm like,
I'm just picturing this. It's
how
really
do you do this in dental? And so they didn't actually outline it. They just gave you a scorecard and they're like, here's a field for you to put it down.
Like they had a pre-templated,
it was an Excel spreadsheet
that you would print out.
Yeah, and
it was an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, and you just write in your close rate, from every location. And I'm like, they don't tell you how to get that, so that means you literally, the person answering the phone has to say, this was a new patient and I scheduled them.
Like sticky note it.
Yeah.
That was a joke I had at Weave. There was the sticky note queen in the office. She was using the sticky notes to keep track of her close rate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't, I also went into the Inner Circle, which is CareStack's conference down
also
in Florida.
Yeah.
And got to hear a local speaker that I really like a lot, Eric Roman. He's great.
Shout
great
out to
guy.
Eric,
Shout out to
local
Eric.
guy.
We like him. He lives here in Utah. We're in Utah. And but he was out there in Florida presenting, and he talked about some of his most important KPIs. And there it was again. It was close rate of new patient calls. And I was like, I'm like, maybe he's going to go into how to track it. And then they didn't, right? Because
did he have a pre-templated PDF that they could print out?
I don't think he had that, but
Eric, get your PDF.
Yeah, Eric, you need to be. I think Eric was instrumental. He was at DEO at one point and helped make that scorecard.
Oh, cool.
So I think he knows. He probably is aware of how
we're gonna have to have Eric
track.
on. He'll tell us the real story.
Yeah, we need to have him on for sure, especially since he's local.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, well, how are they supposed to do it? Manually just isn't going to work. Let's not kid ourselves. It'll never be accurate. No one's ever going to do
Especially
it.
if their job's on the line. Right?
I wanted to start looking at some tools, and I'm going to do a full blog post on this, like with details on how to do it. But I wanted to at least just give some ideas out there on how it can be done. And treating your practice as a sales organization, I think, is also important. And it's not disingenuous to track your leads. Like, it just is important.
Leads cost money. You want to take care of them.
Yeah.
Right? Like your marketing and investment into all of that is important. And take care of it.
And so I think, with digital marketing and things like that, it's a little bit easier, as long as you have like some sort of integration to the practice management system to tie it together. And I think I've seen a lot of these marketing companies are getting better at that, where they actually go in and track like, this lead came into your website and we checked your practice management system and they signed up. So it was and they tie it back and they can track
if it
revenue.
Comes through the website.
Yeah, like Wondrous, they're a marketing company that I ran into, and I know they're tracking it all in Go High Level. So they're using an actual sales CRM to track leads. And so I wanted to point that out, that some of the marketing firms that are tech savvy are doing it, which is great, but it still doesn't track calls necessarily because that's harder to do. So I know Mango Voice, I know, is working on this problem, which is exciting. I don't know when it's going to come out, but they're headed down that path. Weave doesn't do it yet. I'm sure they're thinking about it, but if you're looking to do it now, you can do things sort of like Patient Prism, but they're not using real AI to track it, like to say,
using like IVRs
this is it. Yeah, it's like an
whatever.
IVR. Where
Hold on one sec. So what is it about those technologies like Mango or Weave that would allow this to even become a possibility?
Yeah, because they're the phone system, they do call recordings and transcriptions. And so then you can use AI to look at the transcription and say, this looks like a new patient.
Yeah.
They also gave their phone number to put their stuff in the practice management system. We're going to go verify in the practice management system that person's in there.
So if you didn't have, number one, a phone system that could be transcribed, and then if you didn't have AI to give you some sort of like a summary, right?
Then it would be a little bit harder. You have to tag the calls in some way.
So these technologies that have been building up since somebody co-founded Weave, some cool guy, started introducing, like disrupting the industry. Now these metrics become possible, right?
Yeah.
Like what was impossible now is doable.
Or it wasn't like very accurate. Like I like now the AI makes it really a lot more possible. Like we mentioned Patient Prism does call analytics. But they do it in like an IVR, like press 1 if you're a new patient, and then they flag that call as a new patient call.
Yep.
But now it's like, that's not very personable. Like just answer the phone. AI can tell you if it's a new patient.
Like it doesn't disrupt the flow of the conversation at all. It's your regular process and workflow, and it's just tagging on to that with technology to allow you to do that.
So I think it's getting easier. I know there's some other solutions out there that'll help you that are intermediaries. Like if you look at CallRail, and if you have a pretty tech savvy organization, that's another option to tag new patient calls. And then if you can compare it to your practice management system, you can get really accurate reporting there, but that requires some tech savvy. I know some solutions are out there that can do this out of the box. I don't have them all listed out, but with my full blog post, I'm going to like outline how to do it. But it's getting close, I guess is all I'm saying. Stay tuned because I think if you want to track that automatically, at least to some level of accuracy, now is probably best time in the world to be able to do that.
Yeah, so cool. And imagine like as that technology gets more advanced, being able to benchmark, right? I don't know how any industry leader out there could say like the best practices are at this percent because they can't track it. Like how no one can track it.
I'm actually not sure, but the DEO
you know what I mean?
did put that in there.
But I don't know how
it was
you
like
get
90% is what they put your target as. I'm not sure how they got that number, but
imagine if you did have technology that automated this, and then you could say, you know, the industry, the best in class would be above 80%. Or what did DEO say it was? 90?
They said 90.
90?
For new patient, if they're calling your office, they usually have intent to schedule.
Yeah.
And so they expected you'd get 90% of those. And I know that depends on, you know, if you're an implant center only or whatever, that's going to probably be a little bit different because you're talking about spending cars worth of money on teeth or whatever.
But then to know where you stand and think about like on the sales floor, training is so important, right? I love athletics. You'll probably hear lots of athletic references on this podcast, right? But knowing where you need to improve in anything is the first step. Yeah. And if you don't have feedback as to why you need to improve, how do you direct your trainings to what's going to be most impactful for like consultants, or if I'm a owner of a practice and I can actually track that data, now my training becomes something very impactful. It's going to actually move the needle for me.
Yeah. And especially for practices that have a marketing spend.
Yeah.
If you find out that people are calling in and maybe your receptionist isn't very friendly and her close rate's only 50, his or her close rate are only 50%.
Yeah.
Like, oh crap. Like I'm wasting marketing spend.
Or your marketing isn't driving the right.
Yeah. You're getting the wrong type of people.
But it leads you to find where you can improve at. And I'm also thinking about this from the group dentistry side. Imagine having 100 locations and being able to benchmark that type of data and find, oh, this location's really good.
Yeah. What are they saying
that they're not saying?
Yeah.
And you know, EBITDA is so important in those in the industry as a whole, but especially for the group practices like that. That's a metric that you can really move the needle.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's straight new revenue for each one of those. And so if you can increase the close rate by 5%, that's tons of revenue if you have a big multi-location.
Clint, I'm getting excited to read your blog post.
I know this is going to be it's going to be a good blog post. I'm excited. I do want to do one shout out. Another company that I've really liked and looked at is Trackable. And so they're a CRM built specifically for dental, for tracking leads. Okay. And so attribution too. I don't think they quite have the close rate over the phone fully dialed, but that's also coming. So they'll be in my blog post as well. So shout out to them. I love that team.
We'll bring them on one of these episodes and they can kind of share.
We'll reach out to them and see if they can come on because they're doing great stuff and their identifying of calls is really good. Yeah. So they do a good job of that. So
awesome. So, I mean, one of the things that I love about this dialogue that we're having, this is just one metric, but you're already starting to see how disruption in general is making these things possible, from the different technology that's come along over the past 10, 15 years to the new AI tools that are coming very quickly to the industry. And you bring all of that disruption together and it can make a huge difference.
And then don't let this blow your mind. But imagine benchmarking AI receptionist close rates against each other.
So we'll have a competition. The AI receptionist companies.
We use Arini for ours, and some other companies on this one. Like which one's scheduling more?
That'll be Clint's blog post in 2 years.
Yeah, it was like which AI receptionist is scheduling the most new patients, the highest percentage of new patients, and. I'm sure cool. What's nice is they can change it, the algorithm, right? They tweak it to get the best.
There you go.
It is, wow, what a fun time to be alive.
Cool. Any other metrics that come to mind that I know we went on for quite a while on just that one, but
I love the operational metrics. I'm sure we're going to have lots of discussions about other KPIs. There's tons more around the operations, especially if you're looking at data, even not just the data from the practice management system, but like the phone call. If you're still answering the phone calls, not everyone's adopted AI yet. Hopefully that comes soon, but How quickly are you getting to those? Are you staffed appropriately for the busy times? Lots of times, like, you might have your lunch at noon, but guess what? That's when everyone's calling in to schedule their appointment. How many of those are going to voicemail? I think Eric Roman talked about that in his presentation at the Inner Circle. So I think there's a lot of operational metrics that are now getting better and better to access that data. And so you're just going to see more and more tools and cheaper tools to get access to it. So I'm excited.
And shameless plug for data warehousing, right? When you have data warehousing, all of these tools
being able to pull
talk
your
to each
data
other
from your practice management system, from your phone system, from your accounting system,
HR, whatever it might be,
marketing, all into one place. Once you're big enough to be able to do that, that's where things get, really amazing.
Yeah.
What you can do. Yeah.
Well, I think that was a lot of fun to just discuss. I mean, we only really got to like one metric, but hopefully you can start to see how different technology, different strategies and perspectives from influential people like Eric Roman can make an impact to your business. And that's what we hope to do in this podcast, is just introduce these thoughts, introduce these strategies, new technologies to help you make your business better and disrupt the dental industry. So thank you so much for joining us on our second episode. We look forward to many more.